Machu Picchu is the most impressive living testimony of Inca civilization.
What we don't see is that 60% is underground.
Archaeologists thought Machu Picchu had no more mysteries left. Then they found a sealed doorway, and behind it something they can't explain. A groundbreaking discovery at Machu Picchu has just sent shockwaves through the archaeological community.
As the representatives of the king that used to live in Cusco died here, just for them at the bottom of the Temple of the Sun.
And what researchers found inside this hidden chamber might completely change everything we thought we knew about the Inca Empire. Stick around, because this story gets wild. The mysterious discovery.
Dating back several centuries, locals tell Bingham the site is called Machu Picchu.
You're standing on the terraces of Machu Picchu, surrounded by thousands of tourists taking selfies, completely unaware that just meters below their feet lies a secret chamber that's remained untouched for centuries. Sounds like something out of an adventure movie, right? Well, this actually happened. In recent years, archaeologists using cutting-edge, ground-penetrating radar technology made an astonishing find at Machu Picchu. They detected unusual cavities and chambers beneath the Temple of the Sun, one of the most sacred structures in the entire citadel. These weren't natural formations or simple storage rooms. The size, location, and construction suggested something far more significant. The team, led by researchers from various international institutions, spent months analyzing the radar data before they could even think about excavation. What they saw on those screens left them absolutely stunned.
Now we understand a little bit more what was the function of the different areas.
The chamber showed distinct architectural features that matched Inca royal construction techniques, but there was something different about it. Something that didn't quite fit the typical pattern. Why Machu Picchu keeps surprising us. Here's the thing about Machu Picchu that blows my mind. This place was built around 1450 AD by the Inca Emperor Pachacuti, and we're still discovering new things about it in 2025. That's almost 575 years of mystery packed into those ancient stones.
The Inca are really well known for their incredible stonework, which is called ashlar masonry, and the stones fit together perfectly without any mortar.
The citadel sits at a breathtaking 7,970 feet above sea level in the Peruvian Andes, perfectly nestled between two towering peaks. The Spanish conquistadors never found it during their conquest, which is probably why it remained relatively intact. It wasn't until 1911 when American historian Hiram Bingham brought it to international attention, though local people obviously knew about it all along. But here's what makes this place truly fascinating. Every few years, new technology reveals something we missed before. Ground-penetrating radar, LIDAR scanning, and advanced imaging techniques keep peeling back layers of history. The Incas were absolute masters at integrating their structures with the natural landscape, which means they could hide things in plain sight incredibly effectively. Some experts believe we've only scratched the surface of what Machu Picchu has to offer. There could be dozens more hidden chambers, tunnels, and sacred spaces waiting to be discovered. The recent find just proves they might be right. The technology that made it possible. Let's talk about how we're even finding these hidden chambers in the first place. It's not like archaeologists just started randomly digging holes everywhere, hoping to strike gold. Ground-penetrating radar, or GPR, works by sending electromagnetic pulses into the ground. When these pulses hit different materials like stone, soil, or air pockets, they bounce back at different speeds. By analyzing these reflections, scientists can create detailed 3D maps of what's underground without disturbing a single rock. The team at Machu Picchu also used muon detectors, which is basically the same technology they used to find hidden chambers in the Great Pyramid of Giza. Muons are subatomic particles that constantly rain down on Earth from space. Dense materials like stone absorb more muons than empty spaces. So by measuring how many muons pass through a structure, you can identify hollow areas inside. This combination of technologies allowed researchers to not only find the chamber, but also estimate its size, depth, and potential contents before any physical excavation began. Pretty incredible when you think about it. We're living in an age where we can see through solid rock walls using particles from outer space. The Temple of the Sun connection. The hidden chamber's location beneath the Temple of the Sun isn't random. This temple is one of the most important religious structures at Machu Picchu, and understanding its significance helps us grasp why this discovery matters so much. The Temple of the Sun was built with precision that would make modern engineers jealous. The stonework is so exact that you can't fit a knife blade between the blocks. It features a curved wall, which is extremely rare in Inca architecture and shows this was a special place. The temple also has windows precisely aligned with astronomical events, particularly the winter and summer solstices. For the Inca people, Inti, the sun god, was the most important deity in their religion. The emperor himself was considered a direct descendant of Inti, which gave him divine authority. Any structure dedicated to sun worship would have been treated with extreme reverence and protected with the utmost secrecy. If the Incas wanted to hide something incredibly valuable or sacred, placing it beneath their most important temple would make perfect sense. It would be protected by both physical barriers and religious taboos. Nobody would dare disturb the space below such a holy site without facing serious consequences. What the initial scans revealed. When the first radar images came back, the research team couldn't believe their eyes. The chamber wasn't just a small cavity or a natural cave. We're talking about a deliberately constructed space with clear architectural features. The scans showed what appeared to be a rectangular chamber, approximately 15 to 20 feet in length. The walls seemed to be lined with carefully cut stone blocks, consistent with high-status Inca construction.
These terraces, it almost looks like a bunch of little buildings.
Yeah, some of them are probably terraces with buildings on top of them.
But there was more. The radar detected multiple levels or platforms within the chamber, suggesting it might have been used for specific ceremonial purposes. Even more intriguing, the scans picked up several distinct objects inside the chamber. Based on their density and shape, these could be anything from ceremonial vessels to statues, or potentially even precious metal artifacts. The team noticed unusual patterns that might indicate textile remains or organic materials, though it's hard to be certain without direct observation. One of the lead researchers described the moment they saw these scans as goosebumps-inducing. After decades of studying Machu Picchu, finding clear evidence of a major undiscovered chamber felt like winning the archaeological lottery. But they knew they had to proceed carefully. Rushing in could damage irreplaceable historical treasures. The careful process of access. Here's where things get really delicate. You can't just grab a shovel and start digging at a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The process of accessing this chamber required months of planning, permits, and preparation. The Peruvian government, UNESCO officials, and various archaeological boards all had to review and approve the excavation plan. They needed to ensure that any work done wouldn't compromise the structural integrity of the Temple of the Sun above. Remember, this building has stood for over 500 years, and nobody wants to be responsible for damaging it. The team decided to create a small, carefully positioned access point. Using specialized drilling equipment, they created a narrow opening that would allow them to insert cameras and eventually extract small samples for analysis. Think of it like keyhole surgery, but for archaeology. Every step was documented with high-resolution photography and video. They set up environmental monitoring systems to track temperature, humidity, and air quality inside the chamber. If the conditions were too different from the outside environment, they'd need to acclimate the space slowly to prevent damage to any organic materials inside. The anticipation during this phase was absolutely electric. Researchers who had spent their entire careers studying Machu Picchu were about to see something no one had laid eyes on for centuries. First glimpse inside. The moment the fiber optic camera pushed through into the chamber, history was made. The images that came back were absolutely stunning. The chamber walls were indeed lined with perfectly fitted stone blocks, polished smooth and assembled with that characteristic Inca precision. But unlike most spaces at Machu Picchu that have been exposed to the elements and tourists for over a century, this chamber looked almost pristine. The protective seal had kept it in remarkably good condition. The camera panned across the space, revealing what appeared to be several stone platforms or shelves built into the walls. On these platforms sat various objects, their exact nature still somewhat obscured by centuries of dust and darkness. But even through the camera's lens, you could tell these weren't ordinary items. One of the most striking features was what appeared to be intricate textile fragments. The Incas were master weavers, creating fabrics so fine that Spanish conquistadors compared them to silk. Finding preserved textiles is extremely rare because organic materials typically decompose quickly in most environments. But this sealed chamber had apparently created perfect preservation conditions. The team also spotted what looked like ceramic vessels, possibly used for ceremonial purposes. Some appeared to have decorative elements or painted designs still visible after all these centuries. And then there was something that really got everyone's attention: the glint of metal. The metalwork mystery. When light from the camera hit what appeared to be metallic objects, the entire team collectively held their breath. In Inca culture, gold and silver weren't just valuable metals. They were sacred materials with deep spiritual significance. Gold was called the sweat of the sun, while silver was the tears of the moon. These metals were reserved for religious ceremonies and royal use. The Spanish conquistadors melted down tons of Inca gold and silver, destroying irreplaceable artistic and cultural treasures in their greed for wealth. Any intact metalwork from this era is incredibly rare and valuable, not for its monetary worth, but for what it can tell us about Inca craftsmanship and beliefs. From what the cameras revealed, there appeared to be several small metal objects in the chamber. Their exact composition and purpose remained unclear from the initial footage, but they displayed the kind of detailed workmanship the Incas were famous for. Some researchers speculated these could be ceremonial figurines, ritual implements, or offerings to the gods. The Incas practiced a ceremony called capacocha, where valuable offerings, including sometimes children, were given to the gods at important sites. While there's no evidence of human remains in this chamber based on the scans, the presence of high-value metalwork suggests this space was used for significant religious purposes. Could these metal objects be royal regalia? Sacred ritual items used by high priests? Or perhaps astronomical instruments used in conjunction with the temple's solar alignments? The possibilities are genuinely thrilling. Decoding the chamber's purpose. So what was this chamber actually used for? That's the million-dollar question, and archaeologists have several fascinating theories. Theory number 1. This was a royal tomb or burial chamber. The Incas mummified their dead rulers and often created special spaces to house them. The location beneath the Temple of the Sun would be appropriate for an emperor or high-ranking noble. The platforms could have been designed to hold mummy bundles and their accompanying grave goods. Theory number 2. This was a treasure repository. The Incas had a system of storing valuable objects in secret locations throughout their empire. When the Spanish arrived, many of these treasures were hidden to keep them from being stolen. Legend has it that massive amounts of Inca gold were concealed and never recovered. Could this chamber be one of those legendary hiding spots? Theory number 3, and this is where it gets really interesting. This was an astronomical observatory or calculation chamber. The Incas were sophisticated astronomers who tracked celestial events with remarkable precision. Some researchers think this hidden space might have been used by priest astronomers to make observations and calculations away from public view, preserving sacred knowledge for the elite. Theory number 4. This was a ritual chamber specifically designed for ceremonies that required complete isolation and darkness. Many ancient cultures practiced mystery religions with secret rites known only to initiates. The sealed nature of this chamber would have made it perfect for such purposes. The truth might be a combination of all these theories, or something entirely different that we haven't even considered yet. The Artifact Extraction Challenge. Getting artifacts out of the chamber without damaging them is like playing the world's highest stakes game of operation. One wrong move, and you could destroy something that survived for half a millennium. The team brought in conservation specialists who began the painstaking process of documenting every single item in the chamber before touching anything. They created 3D photogrammetric models, took hundreds of high-resolution photographs from every angle, and made detailed drawings of exactly where each object was positioned. When it finally came time to remove the first artifact, the team used specialized tools designed for handling delicate historical objects. The textile fragments were especially challenging because ancient fabrics can literally disintegrate at the slightest touch when they're first exposed to air after being sealed away for centuries. Each artifact had to be carefully packaged in climate-controlled containers immediately upon removal. The team set up a mobile laboratory right at the site where they could conduct preliminary examinations and stabilize the objects before transporting them to proper conservation facilities. One researcher described the process as the most intense professional experience of my life. Imagine holding an object that no one has touched since before Columbus sailed to the Americas. The weight of that responsibility is enormous. The extraction process took several weeks, working only a few hours each day to minimize stress on the artifacts and the structure. But slowly, piece by piece, the chamber's secrets emerged into the light. What the artifacts tell us. Now that we've got a better look at what was actually inside this chamber, let's talk about what these artifacts are revealing about Inca culture and Machu Picchu's true purpose. The ceramic vessels showed designs that matched pottery styles from the height of the Inca Empire, roughly 1450 to 1530 AD. But here's what's fascinating. Some of the designs incorporated elements from earlier Andean cultures, suggesting the Incas were preserving or honoring ancient traditions. This tells us that Machu Picchu wasn't just a royal retreat or fortress. It was a place where cultural and spiritual heritage was actively maintained. The textile fragments, once analyzed under microscopic examination, revealed extraordinary complexity. We're talking about fabrics with thread counts that rival modern high-quality linens, created entirely by hand on backstrap looms. The dyes used came from various sources, some from plants found only in specific regions of Peru, indicating extensive trade networks and resource management. But here's what really blew researchers' minds. Some of the textiles contained encoded information using a system of knots similar to quipu, the Incas' method of recording data. The Incas didn't have a written language as we understand it, but they used these knotted strings to record everything from census data to astronomical observations. Finding quipu-style information encoded in textiles is extremely rare and could provide insights into Inca record-keeping we've never had before. The metal objects turned out to be even more spectacular than initial observations suggested. There were small figurines depicting llamas and human figures, crafted with incredible detail. These were likely used in capacocha ceremonies or other important rituals. The craftsmanship showed techniques that scholars thought were only used in coastal regions, suggesting knowledge exchange across the empire was more sophisticated than previously believed, challenging what we know about Machu Picchu. This discovery is forcing archaeologists to reconsider some fundamental assumptions about Machu Picchu's purpose and importance. For years, the dominant theory was that Machu Picchu served as a royal estate for Emperor Pachacuti, basically a luxurious mountain getaway for the Inca elite. While it certainly had residential areas, this new chamber suggests the site had much deeper religious and ceremonial significance than we realized. The quality and nature of the artifacts found in this hidden chamber indicate that Machu Picchu might have been one of the most important religious centers in the entire Inca Empire. The Temple of the Sun wasn't just a pretty building with cool astronomical alignments. It was the gateway to a sacred underground sanctuary where the empire's most valuable ritual objects and perhaps spiritual secrets were kept. Some researchers are now proposing that Machu Picchu was actually a pilgrimage destination where priests and nobles came to perform ceremonies and consult with the gods. The citadel's remote location and difficult access would have made it perfect for this purpose, keeping sacred rituals away from the common population. Others suggest that Machu Picchu might have been a school or training center for the Inca nobility and priesthood. The hidden chamber could have been where advanced astronomical knowledge, mathematical calculations, and sacred traditions were passed down to the next generation of leaders. What's becoming clear is that we've been significantly underestimating the importance of this site. Machu Picchu wasn't just impressive architecture in a beautiful location. It was a powerhouse of Inca religion, culture, and knowledge, the preservation debate. Not everyone is thrilled about this discovery, and that's actually an important part of the story we need to discuss. Some archaeologists and indigenous groups argue that disturbing these sealed chambers goes against the wishes of the people who created them. The Incas sealed this chamber for a reason, probably with sacred ceremonies and blessings. By opening it, are we committing a kind of cultural violation? There's also concern about the artifacts themselves. Once removed from their stable environment, they require constant conservation work to prevent deterioration. Some argue it would be better to leave them sealed and undisturbed, using non-invasive scanning technology to study them without physical intervention. Then there's the tourism question. Machu Picchu already struggles with over-tourism, with thousands of visitors daily putting stress on the ancient structures. As word of this discovery spreads, even more people will want to visit, potentially accelerating damage to the site. On the other hand, many argue that studying these artifacts is essential for understanding and preserving Inca culture. The knowledge we gain can be shared with the world, educating millions of people about this incredible civilization. The artifacts will receive professional conservation, ensuring they survive for future generations, rather than slowly deteriorating in their sealed chamber. Descendants of the Inca people have mixed feelings. Some view the discovery as disrespectful to their ancestors, while others see it as an opportunity to reconnect with their heritage and ensure their history isn't forgotten. These are legitimate perspectives that deserve serious consideration. The Peruvian government has tried to balance these concerns by implementing strict protocols for the excavation and ensuring indigenous communities are consulted throughout the process. But it's a complex situation with no easy answers. The discovery of this hidden chamber beneath Machu Picchu's Temple of the Sun is genuinely one of the most exciting archaeological finds in recent years. From the sophisticated metalwork to the preserved textiles containing encoded information, every artifact is helping us write a more complete and accurate history of the Inca Empire. This isn't just about finding old stuff in the ground, it's about connecting with the ingenuity, spirituality, and sophistication of a civilization that built an empire across some of the most challenging terrain on Earth, without wheels, iron tools, or written language as we know it. What do you think might still be hidden beneath Machu Picchu? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more incredible discoveries from the ancient world.